We've got something special for you this week. I'm on location at Capernaum Studios in Poolville, Texas, and I'm going to be bringing you a series of short bonus episodes from the set of Empty Nets. We'll be sharing experiences from the shoot, stories of how the film came about, and some of the unique circumstances that have been part of the filming process. So check back regularly over the next week or so for these bonus episodes from an active film set. Today we're talking with the director, producer, and co-writer of the film, Nathan Blair. But first, if you're finding this podcast helpful, take a moment to follow or subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you think others would be interested in listening, please rate and review to make it easier for others to find. You can leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or podchaser.com.
This is the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast, helping filmmakers who share a Christian worldview stay in touch, informed, and inspired. Quiet on set. Rolling. Your hosts, Geoffrey and Jacqueline Whitt.
Hey, this is Jeff with the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast, on set at Empty Nets, Capernaum Studios in Texas. And I have the director with me today, Nathan Blair.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Well, you're very welcome, and thank you for taking the time. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. It's been a pleasure already, and I'm enjoying it.
Well, good. You've been a big part of transportation. You've saved us a lot of trips. You know the road to the airport pretty well at this point, don't you?
Well, it's pretty complex, actually. I wouldn't want to have to do it without my Google Maps. But
Sure.
Okay, I introduced you as the director, but on your films, you fill a lot of roles.
I do.
On set, you fill a lot of roles.
Yeah.
And part of being a small set, I guess, but I know that's the way you run things. You do a lot of things with few people, and you keep your budgets down. Tell us what roles you're filling right now.
Okay. So I am a producer on this. I'm a co-writer. I am the cinematographer.
Yep.
So I'm shooting the film as well as directing. I did location scouting, budgeting. I've put together the schedule. I'll be editing it. I'll probably be doing the color on that as well. So in this one, hands-on more things just to try and keep some of the budget spent in other places.
Yeah.
So we can maximize it as much as possible.
Yeah. And this film was begun in January, and there were some complications. First of all, tell us briefly about that and how it affected things.
Well, we had scheduled for January because that's when the studio is available, and the studios kind of partnered with us. So they said, we've got an open spot here. So we came in January to film. We were about 2 weeks into production, and we had several complications from freezing pipes, crazy cold that came through, very unseasonable. We had a couple of days where we were filming and working in 20 degrees Fahrenheit, for those of you that are, in the Fahrenheit Celsius thing.
It seems like it would be very hard to
yeah, it was very cold,
things.
And we're worried about people's breath and those types of things. Well, we had gotten to kind of a midpoint in production, and we were on a Saturday working through some cut-in type stuff, and we had a simple stunt that we needed to do. And Leland, who's a co-producer, co-writer on this, he wasn't in the scenes that day, so he's like, I want to go in and help. And so he hopped in on helping on one of the stunts, and it was just pulling the stunt performer across the ground. That guy was already on the ground. All we had to do was pull him with the rope. And we had done it once in a rehearsal, and Leland was like, let's have another person. And right before we went to roll, he wrapped his fingers around the rope, and as a result ended up breaking 2 fingers. And that shut production down because he had to go back to Canada, where he's from, and get surgery and pins and recovery and all of those types of things. So we postponed production.
So, wow. What's that like? All of a sudden, so you're filming, and then the next day, everybody's getting on planes and going home? I mean...
essentially, to put it simply, so we weren't sure the extent of it. We were pretty sure it was broken the day of. He went to the doctor, found out it was broken. So he actually came back. I think he was on an adrenaline high and shot a simple scene. And then I think the pain really kicked in at that point.
Right.
And then we were on an off day. Sunday, we don't work Sundays anyway. And so we're kind of on an off day, and he got worried he's going to have to go home and get surgery. So that Monday was a clean up the studio, the lot, get everything packed up, turned back in, And then everybody went home on Tuesday, either flying or driving. And it was a weird feeling because it's like, we're not done. This should be joyous that we've actually accomplished our task, but we didn't. We know we're going to have to come back, but you don't know who's not coming back because of timing or whatever. And so it was it felt unfinished, very much so, leaving.
Yeah, I guess at that point, there's no clear answers about it being finished at all.
No, we didn't even have a time set, with the studio. When we talked to the studio, there was, we don't even know what the calendar looked like when we could get back to it. So we were trying to make that decision as quickly as we could. So everybody had that locked in. But it was just completely unsettled.
So I came into the picture, into the production, when you came back to shoot the second half, so to speak. It must be different setting up, getting started partway through. We've got it more or less half done. What are the complications? What are the differences?
Yeah, the complications were who was coming back from a crew standpoint. We wanted all of our crew back, but because of the nature of production, sometimes, they're on another project. Fortunately, all of our key heads of departments and stuff like that, they all were able to come back and made it work. So we kept the continuity of the vision and the production design from where I'm working to what they're doing, which was fantastic. And in God's providence, we had cleared almost every actor save 2 from their scenes. So we weren't bringing anybody back that wasn't already going to be coming back anyway. Between Leland's character and Olivia's character, the husband and wife lead, they were coming back no matter what. So we were lucky in that we did have to recast one role because of a schedule conflict. And again, in God's providence, we got somebody who was our sound engineer. He's a producer. He does a lot of things.
Benji,
yeah. But he was fantastic in the role.
He was. I can't imagine being done better.
Yeah, and that's the God's providence. And we had one scene that we were coming back. It's called Scene 60, and it was I called it my white whale, just because it's such a large, complicated scene. And then we had to go back and refilm some of it because of the recasting. And so that part was complicated, and trying to remember what had we shot, what hadn't we shot. You can study old clips. We had cleaned up every scene. There was only one scene that we were in the middle of. And so that'll have to cut together. But, the benefit is we knew how to light certain locations already. We had already established that, so we could get right back into the flow and the rhythm of it and move what we liked, what we didn't like. Working with that crew again, you already had the second hand. It was like there was a 4-month break, but then there wasn't a 4-month break. You kind of got back into the flow of it pretty quick. I would say within a half a day, we were up and running like we had been doing it for weeks and weeks and weeks before. So it's a different feeling in the sense that you're coming back to finish. It's like riding the bike. You're like, okay, right, we were doing this. This is the rhythm we were working. This is the tone we were going for, and kind of working through where we were headed in the story. The landscape changed drastically. So some of the locations we had chosen for the January shoot weren't going to work the same as they are, now in May. Texas is very different. It looks very different in that time frame. So it's okay, now we have to change our location for where we were going to do some of our other scenes outside of our village area. And again, in God's providence, everything in the village looks pretty much exactly the same. You won't know that there's a difference. The trees were still blooming and green, so it was like that plays. But some of the travel montages and exterior scene stuff looked a little different. We were dealing with cold the first time. Now we're fighting rain this time, trying to figure out how to work around Storm Tracker with that. So, every production has its issues. This one was definitely unique, trying to split the two apart, but now kind of into it a little bit more. It kind of feels like old hat, if that makes sense.
I noticed the first couple of days getting started, it was very small. All the crew wasn't here yet, just 2-3 actors, but you were getting scenes, getting the other side of the scene you'd already had, and they went very smoothly and quickly. We easily got done what was needed in the time allotted, and then more people started coming in. And
we were able to get some, finishing our crew. We had kind of the transition, getting back into production. I'm going to be here for setup, but I won't be here first day of shoot, or I'll come in on, a couple days in, and kind of that buffer filter back into it. And now once we got back up to full power, we were able to do some larger days and try and tackle some bigger things. And the rhythm, I think by the time we're wrap, we'll be operating at optimum efficiency just in time to wrap.
Yeah. And hopefully, weather permitting, we'll wrap on time.
Hopefully. We'll see. I always build in buffer days when we're shooting exteriors, just because you don't know what's coming. And so we have those built in. But if we wrap on time, we won't need them. And hopefully we won't have to push anything to them.
Well, I know from talking with the people that work with you, they consider you an easygoing director. Meals are held to meal times. So far, this time at least, 2 evenings out of more than a week at this point, and mostly not working in the evening. People seem to really feel like it's a family.
Yeah, and that's a big compliment for me, in the sense that I try and establish a comfortable workspace. I'm a relational person, so to me it's more important that the people that are working for me know that they have my support. I'm going to hold them accountable, they can hold me accountable, but I'm a solutions person. So you pay attention when people come to me, they'll come to me with a problem and then a solution. Okay, there's a problem, what are we going to do about it? And if they come to me and say, I don't have a solution for this, then I know, okay, I can step in and let's figure that out together. And I think that there's a mutual support with that. I am pretty laid back. My mom always said, you just have a slow heartbeat. You don't go up and down a ton, you're pretty even, you don't get angry quick, and I don't fall in depression quick. And that makes me a little different of a director, in the sense that I'm okay with what the actors bring. If something's not quite right, we'll go talk and we'll tweak, but I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to manipulate anybody. To me, it's like I want to be quick to grace, because I want quick grace. Something goes wrong, I want them to know it's okay to come and say, hey, yeah, I messed this up. I missed something. And they're not going to get chewed out. They're going to be like, okay, how do we fix it? It's okay. Let's rectify this. Yeah. The evening thing, I hate night shoots. I just hate them. There's something that happens. I've seen it multiple times because I've had to do night shoots where everybody on set has tons of energy. You get this kind of strange, okay, we're going through the evening, and then about 11, 12 o'clock, everybody shuts down. Just everything goes super slow. The quality of the work isn't quite as sharp. Energy isn't the same, especially if you've been working through the day a bit to get there. If it was just a night shoot where you're like, okay, our call time is 6 p.m., we know we're working through the night, I think there would be a different mindset. People could nap, they could prep, they could be ready for that. But when you're kind of traveling into night, it's tough. And so I try not to do too many of those night shoots, even though we have a ton of night scenes. Night scenes are inside. Because I don't like night scenes. I don't like night shoots. They're no fun. They never come across the way I want to, and there's just no good way to keep the crew with tons of energy. And the worst thing is to get a night shoot where you're grinding anyway, and then the actors are a little bit off because they're exhausted, and you're doing a scene, 4 or 5 takes more than you would normally. I'm a 3 or 4 take person. Like, I'll average somewhere in that for takes, because we rehearse, we get what we like, we've got a couple good options, and we'll move. There's no point in beating a scene to death to try and find some new performance. It's a comedy. Like, if it's funny the first couple times, it's going to be funny, and I want the energy. Night shoots kind of rob that.
And the ones we've done recently have pretty much been something needs to be finished up. It's not like it's something new scheduled for the evening. To get more hours out of the day. When an actor's going home in the morning, and the last couple sides of the scene need to be finished. We get it done.
Well, the scene we shot last night, for example, it's a night scene. The scene takes place at night.
It worked.
And we need it, and you're going to see the outside, so it has to be at night. But we tried to shoot early enough where we're still getting the reverse angle that's inside that can fake nighttime, so that when we return to the nighttime, that's our last shot. It's the last bit of it. If it has to be at night, how early can we fake night so that you get it, so that we're not rolling super late? And then if we get a late night, sometimes it just comes where you're like, we're in the middle of the scene. And I've never seen the success. That's why I don't break in the middle of a scene for like lunch, because you come back and it's a completely different momentum. The momentum, the whole scene is taken, stops, and then you have to try and find that rhythm again, and it's not the same rhythm. The actors are finding their pacing, they're anticipating a certain way, you've got it the way you want it, the shots are working the way you want it, and then you break, and you just can't rediscover that. It's like everybody is let down. So I try not to break in the middle of a scene if I can avoid it. Now, I've done it on purpose sometimes where I'm like, this scene is not working. Let's break and we'll see what we get coming back. And it's been a benefit. But most of the times I try and pay attention to where we are in time, what we're working on. And we might push, a lunch by half an hour, dinner by half an hour to finish up, but we've cleared it and everybody's free to go. Yeah. So,
well, it's Sunday. Everybody's taking a break and relaxing, heading to town, pick up things they need. I'm going to keep this short at this point and let you go do your things. And
appreciate it.
I really appreciate you taking this time. I know our listeners will enjoy hearing your perspective. And any predictions with regards to timing for release of this movie? I know it's a long ways out as far as what still needs to be done.
Yeah. I'm hoping for a fall release on it. We're actually working on trying to put together our red carpet premiere here at the studio so that we could do it in connection with the film festival they run here, Content. So we're trying to put those two things together because we shot the first sizzle reel for the thing at Content. So it's it feels like a full circle. I love full circles. Yeah. So
plus it's being shot here. There's a connection there.
Yeah.
And a lot of your crew are Content attendees.
Yeah. I every year at Content, this is my plug for Content. I do a casting call at Content. I have cast out of that every single time for a film I'm working in. I crew up a lot of that way. I like Content because it's more personal. I get to know who I'm working with a little bit more, which, again, being a relational person helps me put together a crew. My background is in sports, so I'm a coach. I love baseball. My kids were in playoffs yesterday in baseball, so I was watching that too, trying to do two things at once. But it's that coach, the team building of it. And if you have a team that works together well, even if they're not top of it, that team will outdo any all-star team out there. And so, I like to meet them, and Content gives me a chance to do that.
Yeah, cool. And that'd be great because I will be here as well in Jacqueline. So it'd be
fantastic.
Great to be here for the premiere.
That'd be fantastic.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for your time, and maybe we will get a chance to talk again.
I hope
for
so.
A full interview.
I hope so.
Okay.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. If you would like email reminders about newly released episodes and more, please sign up at faffpodcast.com/email. That's faffpodcast.com/email. Bringing filmmakers together for faith and family.
That's a wrap.